Hey, what's up, guys? I know I've done a lot of videos in this new townhouse that I got, but this is the first one I think that actually shows my new room. So it's been good. It's a nice neighborhood, quiet, nothing much happens, just close to work, so I can't complain about that. So all's good, even though it's very busy, which is why I don't make as many videos, but I try. So what are we going to talk about today? Well, how to encompass this. In listening to both liberals and conservatives argue about different points over the years, you get an overview of what, obviously, their positions on all the issues, but like their worldview. What is their ideal, like, end game if they had control of Congress and the White House and they were to enact all of these policies? Like, kind of how they view themselves and how they view the consequences of their policies, or like what their policies will how it will change the country and the world for that matter. Um, Obviously, as a libertarian, you see the huge disconnect between what they state they want to do and enact as policies and what these policies actually entail, what these policies actually do to countries and people, whatever. And we have plenty of evidence throughout history. That's why it's important to study history. When someone says, I want to enact policy A, and you're like, well, okay, they've enacted policy A in countries in the past, and this is what happened every single time. Therefore, logically, I do not want you to pass policy A because it will, it will have these negative effects, which we have seen. I mean, this is a logical way to look at whether you think a policy is good or not. You know, what it actually does it infringe on anyone's human rights, can we afford it, whatever. But apparently this is too logical for both the Republicans and liberals. That's just making too much sense in dictating policy and what the position on issues should be. If only it was that easy. If only they would do that, but they don't. And people watch my channel, and you know they don't. What they do is try and enact policies that will simply gain them more power, or simply please their voting base, regardless of the actual good that it does, or to placate their hurt feelings, or to not be racist, or just whatever sort of stupid little excuse that they are actually doing it for. Now, we're going to talk about the liberal viewpoint because I've been listening to them a lot lately. We can do the same for Republicans some other day. But the liberals particularly annoy me because if they actually got their way with all of the policies they want to enact, it would literally destroy society. Now, you would say, oh, that's just an alarmist point of view. You're exaggerating things. You're taking things out of context. You're trying to scare people and try to believe your viewpoint by saying that the liberals will destroy this country. It's just like, I will go policy by policy, and I will point out historical examples of when these policies were enacted and how they literally just are like destroying the fabric of the country they are enacted in. If conservatives got their way on everything, it wouldn't be a very nice country, and potentially it could destroy the country, particularly with the debt problem, the defaulting on our debts that both parties have a problem with because they just don't care about the debt and they ramp up the debt like a motherfucker. But barring that, if the Republicans controlled all branches of governments for several years and enacted all the policies that they wanted, it wouldn't be a very nice place to live in, but it would function. There are right-wing, big government countries that have existed historically and now, Russia being one of them, that, like, they survive. It's not the nicest place. There's not a lot of job opportunities, whatever, all the problems that Russia has, for example, but yet it functions, a very powerful country. We'll get to the debt part because that's both policies, but let's just talk about the latest news from London. Lots of other YouTubers have talked about this, so I don't want to go ad nauseum about it, but this is just so mind-boggling that I have to talk about it because it furthers a point. If when liberals get in control, they do shit like this. So not only is getting a gun incredibly hard in England, or in Britain, you can own guns, but you can't own AR-15s. You can't own guns that have 30-round magazines. You can't own semi-automatic. I don't think you can own semi-automatic rifles. I think it's just bolt-action rifles. So bolt-action rifles, shotguns, and pistols. They already make it incredibly hard to get guns that are very good in combat and defending yourself, defending your home, whatever. Like other countries, you can't bring other personal defense weapons in a lot of public places like pepper spray or tasers. But now the newest thing is they are banning knives completely. Not just pocket knives and switchblades, but kitchen knives. Just every single type of blade. You can't carry on you when you're walking around to defend yourself. And us, Second Amendment, people who support the Second Amendment used to joke, well, if they would ban guns, they would ban knives after that. And then the liberals actually fucking do it. And now they're trying to ban knives. How to explain to you guys how stupid this is. This proves the point that guns are not the problem. The murder rate in London has surpassed New York. Whenever criminals can't get guns very easily, they just turn to something else, like knives or trucks of peace or acid or what have you. Banning items doesn't matter. Once they ban knives, they're going to move to something else. It's the people, the mentality, the culture, the deranged lunatics. All of these factors that is what is contributing to the murder rate being so high. Not the actual weapon, because like I said, they're just moving to something else. CD Khan is not trying to solve the problem, because solving the problem would be racist. This is the problem with the liberal viewpoint, that they are perfectly okay with seeing their society crumble due to high crime, high employment, high debt, what have you, all these things, just to not be called racist. That is how petrified they are being called racist. I mean, like with the Muslim rape gangs, first of all, Islam is not a race, so none of this is racist to begin with. But preventing girls from being raped, and the people who perpetrate it happen to be Muslim, apparently that is racist to try to stop all that. This is the hell they're creating. Like, Britain was once a great country, now it is just falling apart due to all of these radical liberal policies. Like knife control, like gun control, like not stopping Muslim rape gangs. There was a video I saw of some guy, in the English suburbs, and 3 men got out of a car and were stealing the wheels off his motorcycle. Either the police weren't coming, or he called the police and the police weren't coming in time, and the thugs had like some kind of hammer, like a blunt weapon, or like a hammer or a crowbar or something, and there were 3 of them, and there was only one of him, and he didn't have any guns. I don't know if he had any other blunt objects or a knife, but even if he did, even if you're a skilled fighter with a knife or a blunt object, it's kind of hard to take on 3 people at once, especially when they're big thugs like that. So he could do nothing but film as they stole the wheels off his motorcycle and then smashed his windows in and everything. And like, this is why in America we own guns. This is a perfect example, because you know what happened in America if they tried that shit and the homeowner had a gun and all they had was their hammers and crowbars. He would shoot the living fuck out of them. He would kill all 3 of them with ease, preventing a crime. What if they wanted to do more? What if they wanted to break into his house and rape his wife and kill him? You know, having a gun would prevent those crimes as well, which is why the stat guns are used, I think it was 2.3 million defensive uses in the US alone every single year. But we're getting distracted here. This is the future that these radical liberals want in London. They want to ban guns, knives, whatever, in order to feel safe. That's what you constantly hear when they say, I don't feel safe when this is happening. Or, I want to feel safe, therefore that. It's like, that's great. Feeling safe is cool. That's great for you. But I would actually want to be safe than feel safe. That's the major difference. I want to enact policies that would objectively make people safer. By having access to guns, they use it in defensive situations, potentially saving hundreds of thousands of lives in that 2.3 million defensive cases that I mentioned. That is objectively making people safer when they have guns. What you want to do is make guns incredibly hard to get, and the guns you can get are only bolt action rifles and shotguns. Then you want to ban knives. So people walking around, walking their dog or something, people come up to them and then try to like mug them or kill them or something, and then you don't have anything to defend yourself, and it's really hard to defend yourself against people who have knives, because the criminals don't care if knives are illegal. That's why they're criminals. They don't care about the law. So you're fighting against 3 people with a knife, and all you have is your fist. Good luck with that. Banning knives makes them feel safe, but it doesn't actually make them safe. That's the whole problem with this, is that people base what policies they want to enact based on their feelings, not objective, proven historical instances like strict gun control in like New York, Los Angeles, Baltimore, for example, objectively makes those places more dangerous and complete fucking shitholes. I've been to most of them. Same thing in Australia when they had the gun ban. Yeah, gun crime lowered a lot, but all other violent crime rose, because now the criminals are like, yeah, odds are when we rob a place or break into a home, the person's not going to have a gun. We still have our guns because we pay attention to the law. So now we're going up, we have like a shotgun or a pistol, whatever, and all he has like a knife or a taser or something, or like a crowbar. It's like, yeah, it's really hard to defend yourself and defend your home with those odds, which is why violent crime rose so much. The criminals had free range, just do whatever they want, and the police are inept as fuck. So it's not only in London, let's go back to London, not only are all these problems I already mentioned, but people constantly say, well, why do you own a gun? You like to defend yourself. And like, why do you need to defend yourself? Just call the police. You know how privileged a person is when they say that, because they never lived in the place where the police don't give a shit about you and don't come. There's certain no-go zones, especially in London, where police just don't go. So if you're getting robbed and you call the police and then they see that's where you're coming from, they're just going to ignore it and say, nope, we don't operate in that area. In the US, the police have no duty to protect citizens. I know that's a mind-blowing statement. People are like, that's just conspiracy theory. That's just anti-government. No, look it up. They've been like court cases determining exactly that. Police have no obligation to save you when you're in danger. Usually they do. In most places they do operate. They have no obligation to. And when they don't feel safe, they won't go in. Case in point, Parkland. Pussy cop. Letting kids die when he's just sitting out there with his gun. But I already talked about that. It's not only do they want to do all this, but they want you to rely on the police, which don't go in certain areas. And then when they do operate in areas, sometimes they take a long time to get there for lots of other factors. There's the phrase that people think is a cliche, but it makes absolute sense. When the criminals are at your door, and you can get to a gun in seconds, the police are minutes and minutes away. A criminal can do a huge amount of damage to your property and to your family and to yourself in a few minutes when the cops are coming. So not only do the police not have obligation to save you when you're in danger, they don't operate in certain areas. When they do operate in certain areas, they take a long time to get there. When they actually get there, sometimes it's not even helpful at all. They just document the crime and then they go on their merry way because what do they care? I'm not saying that all cops don't care. Hashtag not all. There are a lot of cops that work very hard to save their citizens. They put their lives in danger. They die by the hundreds every year, you know, just in firefights to save civilians, whatever. I'm not saying it doesn't happen, so don't take my words out of context. But the primary rule of police is you document the crime and then go after the criminals after the crime happened. The responsibility to protect yourself, to make yourself not a victim, to prevent a crime from happening to you is on you, not the police. Lots of instances of the police for racial, gender, class reasons, whatever you may have you, they come to the scene of a crime and they treat the person who called them like the criminal instead of the people who actually committed the crime because of a certain race or because they're male or because they're young and have tattoos and long hair or whatever. You know, it's shit like this where it's just, there are lots of communities where the police are not helpful and looked at as a menace in that community, and that's why the people want nothing to do with them. That's why when you do poll after poll, lots of people, when they see a police officer, they are more scared than they feel safe because they hear of all this shit that police officers do, especially in communities where it happens more often, like in the cute little white suburbs across the U.S. Of course, the people are going to trust police more, and then they're not going to have that same polling results. They're going to feel more safe when the police officer is around them because in their experience, the police officer has made them safe, has not mistreated them and violated their rights. In other communities, which is people have no idea how terrible it is to live in those communities, the police are a menace to that community. And that's why the people want nothing to do with the police. They avoid them. They walk to the other side of the street wherever they see them, and they don't trust them. They don't go to them whenever a crime is committed because then the odds are they're going to be charged with something completely made up shit because the police feel like it. Now, for all the British people living in their quaint little suburbs, you know, outside of London where all this crime is happening, and they're police officers like they know them by name, and they are seen as community protectors rather than a menace, they lack empathy and they lack the understanding to put themselves in other people's shoes and to look at it from other people's point of view. They only see how they interpret the world, and they're like, well, the police, they don't bother us, they're not mean to us, so why are people anti-police? Why don't people want to rely on them for their personal safety? Like I said in previous videos, the world is not just your world that you go around in your daily life. People obviously know that they're different, you know, there's way different lifestyles, way different societies, cultures, crime, whatever, but they don't know to the extent that that is true. People in these quaint English suburbs have no idea how bad it is in some of these parts in London where all this crime's happening. Police officers just don't care about it. You can't carry weapons to protect yourself. You know, shit happens all the time. People are afraid to go out at night and stuff like that. You know, they can't picture. They read about it like, oh, it's horrible, whatever, whatever. But they can't picture themselves in the situation and think, you know what? I would really want a gun. I really want a knife. I really want a taser, because the police are not, like, they can't put themselves in other people's shoes in order to have the want for a weapon to feel logical. That's the whole problem with this. And that's the whole problem with these liberals in general. We're going to wrap this up now, because lots of these problems that we're talking about in Britain can also be applied in the United States with the whole March for Our Lives, where they want to ban assault rifles, ban the AR-15, or just lots of them just want to ban all guns outright and just confiscate them all. This is the future they want. They want it like Australia. They want it. Britain is a prime example in the making. It's happening as we speak. It's not like it's in the past, like with the Australia gun ban. Where this is what will happen if liberals get their way and they ban most guns and now banning knives, and continue to not pursue criminals with fear of being called racist. This is what will happen. What their stated goals are is this great utopia where people don't kill each other and there's no weapons anywhere, and it's like a socialist utopia where everyone's equal, no one gets mad at each other. If they do, they only have their fists, and there's no guns anywhere, so, you know, no one, you know, like a fantasy world. That is what they have in mind whenever they enact these policies. That is their goal. Which, of course, doesn't happen when you enact gun control. We've seen this time and time again throughout history, and we're seeing it in Britain happen in real time right now. So that is why I'm against gun control. I'm against banning knives. I'm against banning tasers. I'm against being able to carry weapons wherever you go around to defend yourself. Because I see what gun control and knife control and bad policing do in historical situations and in right now. And then I see what happens when you enact the policies that I want, when people are able to defend themselves. The crime is much less. There are less deaths, there's less criminal activity. Burglars know, hey, if I break into someone's house, odds are they might be armed, you know, and then they're gonna fucking kill me. Or when you're looking for someone to rob, it's like, hey, they might be carrying something. I don't know, if I jump them, the other guy next to them is gonna turn around and stab me, you know. It's a deterrent. Like I said with mass shootings, if we were more heavily armed in the guards at schools actually did their fucking jobs, then a mass shooter will pull off a couple of shots before someone takes him down. Instead of the high casualties we'll see in the dozens and dozens, like in Las Vegas, in Orlando, and Parkland, whatever, we will see like 3 or 4. And then potential mass shooters will see like, yo, this is a pattern. Every single time someone tries to try a mass shooting, they just don't, they're not as successful. It's just not worth it. I can't do it. It's harder now. It's a deterrent, so I won't do that now. I won't be able to live in infamy and killing 27 people. I'll kill like 3. A big fucking whoop. I'm going to give up my life for that? Now, it's still going to happen. Again, no policy is going to get rid of 100% of a type of crime, but it will significantly lower that. And it will significantly be better than the liberal policies they have enacted countries across the world, particularly in the case they were talking about in London.